This is by far the worst we've ever seen.
A crisis spreading to every corner of the nation with no end in sight.
We actually have folks that come in the emergency room that the needle is still in them and they're dead.
Addiction to heroin and opioids has stolen hundreds of thousands of lives.
Dependency to these medications really held me prisoner.
I never thought I would have been addicted to anything.
From your soccer moms to your coaches to factory workers to all kinds of people, you really don't know who it is.
But who was responsible?
There needs to be some accountability.
And how do we stop it?
This is a community problem, and we need everybody in the community to come together.
Victims, survivors, and those fighting on the front lines joining forces to tackle the problem of an addicted America. Thank you for joining us here at 5 o'clock. I'm Brian Dorman.
And I'm Colleen Borman. Our special coverage of an addicted America begins today, the same day that President Trump declared the opioid crisis a public health emergency.
No part of our society, not young or old, rich or poor, urban or rural, has been spared this plague of drug addiction. I am directing all executive agencies to use every appropriate emergency authority to fight the opioid crisis.
For the next 3 weeks, we will have live team coverage digging into every angle of this national crisis. To start, officers patrolling our neighborhoods are calling painkillers the new lethal weapon. They shared their firsthand experiences with ABC57.com's Andrea Alvarez. She is live downtown South Bend. From the doctor's office to the courtroom, dozens of cities and counties all around the country are filing lawsuits against drug manufacturers and distributors to try to stop the epidemic at its source. Chicago was the first city to take that step, suing 5 opioid drug makers in 2014. Since then, the movement has spread. Indianapolis jumped on board, and in September, Muncie filed a lawsuit against the 3 largest opioid distributors in all the country. Here in Michiana, South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg says that he would consider suing too.
It's something we've got to look at too, because we're definitely facing the costs. We're seeing the impact, a human cost, of course, and also a financial cost. And everybody shares a different level of responsibility. But if patients or even doctors were ever being misled about the harms that could be done by these drugs, then that is a deliberate bad action, and there's got to be accountability for that.
This is just the beginning of our special coverage. Addicted America continues tonight on ABC 57 News at 11 o'clock and for the next 2 weeks on Thursdays at 5 and 11. Innocent victims caught up in the opioid crisis.
She called one day and said, "We've got a newborn in the hospital. He's been born addicted to heroin."
Their needs must be met, but resources are running thin.
There is a huge shortage of foster parents.
From the foster care system to law enforcement.
This is a community problem.
As the community comes face to face with this epidemic.
I think dude is dead. Just drugs. He OD'd.
Plaguing the nation, young, old, rich, poor. No one is immune in addicted America.
Michigan is not immune to the opioid epidemic spreading across the nation.
We've had a major increase in the last few years in overdose deaths. The amount of prescription units have gone up dramatically over the last few years. Our population really hasn't grown that much. So something's way out of whack, and we need to do something about it.
In fact, opioid prescriptions now outnumber people in the state of Michigan. According to state data, doctors in Michigan wrote 11 million opioid prescriptions in 2016. Given Michigan's population of around 9.9 million, that's enough for more than 1 opioid prescription per person, including babies and children. Governor Snyder says tackling the crisis will take a multi-step approach from teachers, doctors, patients, and loved ones of those who need help.
There is not a magic solution here. This is a very difficult, complex issue, but we need to take steps from the education prevention side to the treatment side to the recovery side to help people get back on their feet if they've gone through an addiction problem. And again, I would go back to saying what educational programs we have to get in our schools to, again, educate people about drugs, what we can do to tell people when they get a prescription, how they should safely use that prescription and how they should dispose of it. If they see someone in trouble, where they can send people for that assistance.
And would you say at this moment, is the state of Michigan winning the war on opioids?
I wouldn't say we're winning. I would say we're making a strong effort. But I think we need to continue that effort and work even harder. There are still too many people out there that are going through this addiction problem. Let's do more.
And Governor Snyder says state officials are actively working to expand programs to combat the crisis. One of the bigger success stories, though, so far is a project I learned about while talking to him called the Angel Program. We'll have much more on that in part 2 of my interview on ABC 57 News tonight at 11.